So, Happiness is a psychological horror manga series written by the underrated mangaka Shuzo Oshimi, most famous for what many of his readers consider to be his masterpiece, Flowers of Evil. And in it, he tells the story of a young teenager, Okazaki Makoto, who starts off as a shy and insecure person who does errands for the popular Yuki and his group of friends from his class. One night, while going to return a DVD rental, Okazaki is attacked by a female vampire who sucks his blood. When she asks him whether he wants to die or be like her, Okazaki responds that he wants to live, and mysteriously wakes up in the hospital. Sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? Tokyo Ghoul was not the first manga series to follow a similar premise, neither was Happiness, but due to the timing and familiarity in tone and protagonist, once you start to read the first couple of volumes of this manga series, you can't help but to draw obvious comparisons to Ishida's story. But gladly, after finishing this particular story and witnessing all the twists and turns that it had to offer, I found myself delighted in discovering that so many of the subtleties present in Oshimi's writing and artwork made the experience so much more unique and enjoyable than what I initially expected. And with confidence, I can say that Oshimi Shuzo's Happiness is not a Tokyo Ghoul copy, but instead a fascinating and disturbing story that will have you spellbound from the moment you read its first chapters to the moment you reach the end. A lot of you will probably be drawn to this series due to its familiar setting that is in line with Tokyo Ghoul's. You will be forgiven to think after reading that first chapter that Happiness is Tokyo Ghoul just with vampires. Tokyo Vampire, perhaps. But something that becomes very clear as you read through Oshimi Shuzo's stories like Happiness, like Flowers of Evil, even before the clear 180 that the plot and characters take in the middle half, he captures your attention almost immediately, with these disturbing scenarios that you wouldn't quite expect in a story with such a premise. Happiness is definitely his most ambitious project in terms of scale and concept, on top of being his first big series to adopt a supernatural feel to his fiction. But the way he operates the flow and pacing of the story, the way he develops and delves deep into the characters that he introduces in such a deep and vulnerable manner, just makes it the more clearer that the original and creative mind of the author is still very much alive and well, giving it its own life and feel that I can promise you will never read anything like it anywhere else. Not in any played out vampire tale, not in any grim horror based art form. You expect some decision or character arc to go a certain way due to the personality associated to said character, but then it goes in a completely different direction, leaving you absolutely clueless as to what will happen next. Many times I found myself expecting a certain character to act a certain way or fade away from the story and never make an appearance again, only to find myself pleasantly surprised by not only how they came back, but also how they were utilized and served their purpose in the story. My personal feelings towards some of those characters would often be mostly negative, but the mangaka would always find a way to toy with my emotions and expectations, making me hate a certain character, sympathize with him, hate him again, wishing his death, only to feel actual remorse when he finally meets his end. Just like Tokyo Ghoul and Suishida's form of writing, Oshimi Shuzo also writes a tragedy in the form of happiness, oftentimes the not leaving not only our protagonist, but also every single set of players in his story suffer gruesome and unforgiving fates through and through, to the point of it almost being unbearable to read. That's another aspect that you can expect in his work, disturbing imagery and an unsettling tone that never leaves you for a single moment, which can get sickening at times, because you feel the need to pause, but at the same time you want to know what happens next, what happens to these characters in the end, and how they'll be able to shake these horrible situations off. I love me some dark fiction, but as a disclaimer, this manga series is not for the faint of heart. This manga, like the mangaka's other work, if not more so than some of them, will mess with your head. I'm not exaggerating, it's a disturbing story that not only delves deep into the psychological element of horror, it goes non-apologetically into all sides of it, especially body horror, as it is to be expected in a story with vampires in it. The artwork can also be so horrifying yet beautiful at the same time. Oftentimes, the author changes his style and has these breathtaking panels being filled with lines and abstract imagery that provoke in you a feeling of almost an out of body experience. It's almost like you're being drugged, perfectly highlighting the character's own sensations in those particular moments. Specifically, in every moment, Makoto will experience the world surrounding him as a vampire, which depicts the creatures in such a unique manner never seen before. Happiness is not my favorite work of Chuzo's, nor I think it is personally superior to Tokyo Ghoul, but if you want to read something in the same veins as a Tokyo Ghoul that is new and different, this is definitely a must. I hope you all enjoyed this review of Oshimi Shuzo's Happiness, and make sure if you have read and enjoyed this particular manga of his, that you go check some of his other work out. He's definitely become one of my favorite mangaka this past couple of years, so if you want an author that has some of the same sensibilities as Ishida, then I strongly recommend you give it a try. I hope you all stay safe and well, and until next time, ja, matane.